What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning into this video. Today's video should be a fun video. I have this 1999 Toyota Camry to review, and as you guys know, I own this car's competition, 2000 Accord, so it'll be fun to film this car and talk about the similarities and the differences between the two of them. Let's go and get started. So starting as usual with the styling, straight away the first thing you can see is that these headlights are new. They were put on recently. This car does have the gold package, has the gold badges. It's a two-tone. It's white on beige, and it has alloy wheels with missing center caps that are lost to time. And one difference between this car and my Honda over there that we can talk about immediately is the paint quality. Because this car is 22 years old, it has 265,000 miles on it. And the paint on this side, which has not been repainted, is in real good shape. This paint will clean right up. Whereas the paint on my Honda isn't. See, there's some mismatch. I'm fairly certain the owner of this car told me that it had been an accident, and part of it has been repainted. I'm not sure if the bumper has been repainted. You can see more the gold badging. It is a Camry LE. The owner told me that this side of the car has been repainted, and it was repainted poorly, as you can see. It's like fading or doing something over here, and the mirrors not being held on very well. And you can see there's a bit of an ouchie right up here. He told me that they didn't put clear coat on this side when they repainted it for whatever reason, so it's fading. Moving on now to the interior, we get to talk about more similarities and differences. This car has a beige interior, and one thing I really like about these cars is these seats. They're delightfully simple and wonderful. One thing to talk about straight away is Toyota does a lot of things well, but one thing they don't do well, and if you know Toyotas from this area, you know what I'm about to say. Door handles. The door handle is broken on this side, and the exterior door handles on these things break all the time. Also, this window switch pod is loose, as is this one. What are you gonna do? It's an old car. The gauges are really simple. Got your temp gauge, gear indicator, and fuel off to the left, speedometer in the middle, and your tach on the right. You can see the odometer, 269,424. The check engine light and ABS light are permanent fixtures, as is the brake light. The steering wheel is very of its period, which means I love it. It's got cruise control, and your stocks. A very simple affair. Nothing abnormal about them. Windshield wipers do have variable intermittent wipers. Nothing abnormal there. Got your vents in the middle. Hazard lights. The radio in here is standard affair from this era Toyota. Power and volume over here. CD, AM, FM. Does have a cassette player, which is nice because you can plug in a cassette adapter. No idea what this scan button does. I'm assuming this knob here is your balance and fade, or your equalizer. Then you got 6 presets, and your tune and seek right over here. And I'm assuming this also controls your CD player. And then you got your delightfully simple climate control down here. This slider here controls the recycling, controls vent and recycling. Rear defrost, one-touch air conditioning, different zones, temperature, and fan speed. Very, very delightfully simple. And then below that by the shifter, okay, well, I went to unplug the FM transmitter and the whole cigarette lighter came out with it. I got an ashtray that the owner is using for chain storage because he doesn't smoke. Got some nuts and a power outlet, which currently has an FM transmitter in it that I'm not going to try to pull out again. There's two power outlets. This is a holder, and there's another power outlet down below by the nuts that has an FM transmitter plugged into it. And then your shifter, it's just a normal shifter. You know, not a stupid shifter, thankfully. It does have a button to lock out your overdrive for the 4-speed automatic transmission. It is a strong, durable Aisin transmission, and they don't break, even though this car is on its second transmission. And then you got your cup holders, which flip up. I can't imagine that these are that great at cup holders, but they're definitely better than the console cup holders. Park and brake. And the center console here, which was broken, but someone fixed it with this hinge here with a door hinge, which is funny, and it has a little tissue holder, and it's full of stuff. And it doesn't lock as a result of being a little broken. Overall, the interior of this car is standard affair for the time period. Got your glove box, which is actually quite sizable. The materials quality are, again, as you'd expect for the time period. And it has held up well. The dash has held up well to the sun. It is soft touch, which is surprising. In my Accord, only the lower part of the dash is soft touch. Up here, it's all hard plastic. The door panels are soft touch. They have a nice carpeted section, similar to my Accord. And also similar to my Accord, this car has power windows, mirrors, and a sunroof. Now we can move on to the back seat. Moving on to the back seat, another difference we can talk about with my Accord is the rear driver's side door opens in this car. In my Accord, it does not. The back seat is, again, your standard fare. Nothing you don't expect back here. It is comfortable. There's a decent amount of headroom. There's a trim piece missing on the Jesus handle. You do have an armrest that does not have cup holders. My Accord does have cup holders, but it is nice and soft. And the door panel has the same accoutrements, the soft touch uppers and the cloth section. And it's like the cloth is coming off a little bit here, but it's doing that in my Accord as well. And you can see the owner has an organizer on the back of the passenger seat, and both seats have map pockets, which is nice. And in here, you have what used to be a cup holder. Overall, really simple, really simple back here. Really not much to say. Do have grab handles on the other side, and this one does have a little coat hook on it. And the seat back does fold. And it does fold via pulling this little lever up here. And as you can see, it folds 60-40, which is another thing that this car does that my Accord doesn't. My Accord does have a folding seat back, but the whole thing folds. It doesn't fold 60-40. We'll move on to the trunk in just a second, just to demonstrate that all the doors on this thing work. And passenger side, this door, as a result of this ouchie up here, this door does open into the fender a little bit. And to prove on my Accord that This door doesn't work. Oh, yeah, wrong door. This is the door that does work. There we go. This door doesn't work. And now we'll move on to the trunk. Moving on to the trunk, the interior cable release is not working. So you got to open it with the key, and it's a little stiff. As you can see, all the floor carpeting and trim is missing. We have no idea where it is. It's lost to time. It's a point of contention with the owner that the trunk in my Accord has all of the carpeting and everything that it's supposed to have, and he wants that. It's also missing the plastic trim that covers this. More evidence that points to this car having been in an accident. I guess it does give you easy access to changing the taillight though. That's nice. And under here, you have a full-size spare tire. Holy crap. Yeah, 195/70 R14. That is awesome. I'm a big fan of that. My Accord just has a space saver donut. Other than got some jumper cables in here, and over here you have 2 jacks. Interesting. I wonder if this thing had 2 jacks from the factory. But other than the trunk missing its floor and gubbins, there's not much to say under here. It does have a liner up here, which my Accord does not. But yeah, and there's a little, is this a pocket? What is this? Oh, this is access to the reverse light. That is awesome. I did not know that. And there's one I need. That is awesome. That is a good job, Toyota. A fan of that. Reasonably solid trunk closing action. And now we move on to the engine. Alright, now we get to the meat and potatoes of the operation. We can talk about more differences between this car and my Accord. There we go. Give me a second to get the prop rod out. I guess it's another similarity. These cars have struts. But what you're looking at here is a 2.2 liter 4-cylinder, designated the 5SFE. And the first thing that struck me about this motor when I first looked at it is the sheer amount of space in here. The engine bay in my Accord is a lot more cramped than this. And they put a 3-liter V6 in here, and it makes sense that they were able to fit it. But this engine, the 2.2, makes 133 horsepower, 5,400 RPM, and 147 foot-pounds of torque at 4,400 RPM. And this car has a curb weight of right around 3,000 pounds. So, as I'm sure you can imagine, it is quite slow. Probably does 0 to 60 in around 10 seconds. Which really isn't too bad. You know, that won't do much better, even with the manual transmission. Speaking of the manual transmission, as I close the hood, there's where the proper goes. Speaking of the manual transmission, this car was available with a 5-speed. And one thing that you can say about this, that you can't say about my Accord, is both these cars were available with V6s. But unlike my Accord, this was available with a V6 and a 5-speed. Whereas with my Accord over there, the only way you could get a V6 is with a 4-speed auto. That's shattered if you looked at it too hard. And with that being said, time to move on to the driving experience. Alrighty, we're driving the XV20 Toyota Camry. I apologize, I gotta have the windows open. It's a warm day, and this car gets a little warm if you run the air conditioning. If it isn't clear already, this thing is a little used up. It's got a lot of miles on it. It's had a lot of problems. Not a huge amount of problems. It's a lot of little stuff. There's the owner. And it's far from a perfect car. A lot of things wrong with it. That doesn't mean it's a bad car. It's a shitbox for sure, but I don't know if I've said this before, but shitbox is an endearing term. Shitbox means good. You can't see the dash right now, but we have a light indicating that one of the taillights is out, even though none of the taillights are out. The brake light is on for whatever reason. Check engine light is on for an evap code, and the ABS light is on. And if I had to guess, I would say that the brake light and the ABS light are related. Getting onto the main road here. The engine actually feels pretty good. It's got decent power, feels healthy, not bad. The transmission shifts hard for some reason, but you know, it's fine. We just got 4th gear. I hope the wind rush isn't too bad. It drives well. Not bad. The steering is loose. It's definitely 90s car steering. There's a lot of slop in it, and it's not very direct. And that's one thing that my Honda does better. The steering in my Honda is noticeably better, and the suspension in my Honda is also quite a bit tighter. The shocks in this car are done. They are just done for. So it floats. It's like driving on an angry sea, and then you brake, the front end dives. The shocks are hilariously bad, but the upside to that is you get a smooth ride, and the ride is indeed pretty smooth. We go over bumpy Jim Owens here. This is my first time driving this car. I've been around this car quite a bit. This car is owned by a good friend who also works for Papa John's, not the same store. And it's another one of those cars that just gets used the crap out of via pizza delivery. And it's definitely an old Japanese shitbox, but there's nothing old Japanese shitboxes like better than being used the hell up. I'm going up the hill here. Reasonably decent hill pulling power. The owner of this car tells me, and he confirmed this with me while I was riding with him, that if you're pulling a big hill, you are getting up into the tack to maintain speed up the hill, unfortunately. But it's an old car, what are you gonna do? And I can't imagine that it had that much hill pulling power when it was new. Throttle response is good. It is a cable actuated throttle, just like my Honda. And it's not bad. I'm always impressed by the initial pull of any car I drive with an automatic transmission. Like I said before, these seats are really comfortable. They are really soft. The cloth Toyota uses on their seats is just perfect. One thing I have noticed about the seat is the bracket that holds it in place is broken. So it wobbles around, which is entertaining. I had two Honda Civics, and both those cars did that. And going back to the engine and the transmission, this 4-speed auto is fine. It shifts hard, but you know that I don't know if that's mount related or the transmission just isn't loving life, but it shifts hard. it's fine. It's not going to go out. I've never driven a 5-speed one. This is the only Camry of this generation I've ever driven. But I've never driven a 5-speed Camry. I want to, and V6 5-speed Camrys exist, as I said before, and I have been idly searching for one of those for a long time. A V6 Camry of this generation is a car that I would rather enjoy owning, because you guys know that I like cars that look like nothing, and this car is up there with the Chevrolet Cobalt for being the king of looking like nothing. They're absolutely fantastic. I'm gonna get on Cup Parkway. They're absolutely fantastic. Getting on Cup Parkway here, I can give it some gas as I compete with the people who are making left turns. It's really not bad. It's, for 133 horsepower and a 3,000 pound car with a 4-speed auto, it's quite adequate. I would say my Accord feels slower entirely because I drive it like a grandma and I never give it more than an 1/8 throttle. But if you put the two cars side by side, my Accord would probably walk it. Just because it has a little bit more power, probably lays a little bit less, and it has a 5-speed instead of a 4-speed choker box. But that being said about the choker box, if you get a V6 with an auto in these, the transmissions don't go out. Whereas with my Accord, you get a V6 and an auto, the transmission goes out if you talk to it with a stern voice. Again, I hope the wind rush isn't too bad. Overall, I like this car. I really do. I think this is a great car. I think if you need a set of cheap wheels, you cannot go wrong with an XV20 Toyota Camry. There's an ambulance coming out of that shopping center that I'm gonna have to get out of the way of. Hopefully I'll be able to make my turn before that happens. I would drive this car. A lot of work I would do to it, but I would drive it. I would own this thing. I am a fan. These are good cars, especially if you can find one with a 5-speed. Good deal. Let the ambulance go by. Good luck to who's ever on the receiving end of that. I don't know if you guys if you can notice the transmission shifts. I don't know why it shifts hard. If I asked the owner, I'm sure he wouldn't know why either. It's probably something he's learned to ignore, which I would too. I guess one thing we should talk about before we get back to the house is fuel economy. My Accord will do 30 in the city all day long with only mild hypermiling. According to the owner, he gets about 24. And I attribute that entirely to the 4-speed auto. If he had the 5-speed, I'm sure he could get 30 out of this thing. Because my Accord has even more displacement than this car has, yet it gets better fuel economy. And it has to be because of the 5-speed auto. Or not, it has to be because of the manual. Only recently have automatic transmissions become efficient. And the drawback to that is that they all have 12 gears now and they all brake. Especially if it's a CVT. Going over these speed humps over here in my neighborhood. The suspension is quiet. There is a little bit of noise, but there's less noise, and the noises are less frightening than in my Accord. My Accord, I'm thinking about doing every bushing in the front end. Alrighty, and we're home. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making it. If you like what you saw here, please subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.